Hey guys, welcome back to Day-Today Chess. This is Sabina, once again bringing you the classics. For today, a game between Akiba Rubinstein and Jose Raul Capablanca played in 1911 in San Sebastian. I think after my yesterday's video, Akiba the Great, if you haven't seen it yet, make sure you check out my videos. Akiba Rubinstein is one of the greatest chess players who unfortunately didn't get a shot to play a world championship match. Maybe he could have won the crown, but due to different reasons that did not happen. If you want to find out more about him, make sure you check out my previous video. What can I say about Jose Raul Capablanca? I mean, everybody knows he was the third world champion from Cuba. Great chess player. Really enjoyed the end games, and he was actually not supposed to play in this tournament in San Sebastian in Spain. Thankfully, Frank Marshall has put a good word for Mieses, who was the organizer of that tournament, and they invited Jose Raul Capablanca. Most people thought he was not ready for this, but this was his great debut, actually. I have to say he won the tournament. At the moment that he was playing against Akiba Rubinstein, it was probably around 13, and he was leading the tournament with at least, how many, like 1.5 points, I think. So definitely a great tournament for him. But let's see if this game was as successful as the entire tournament. Okay, so we've got what? The Tarrasch. Yes, I talked to you about this yesterday, that Rubinstein actually invented a new system. And after a little bit more research, I found out that it was first introduced by Schlechter and in 1908, and then Rubinstein was more the person who systematized it, and he basically, with the system, the Tarrasch defense was kind of refuted at those times. So G3 Rubinstein is we know this system as Rubinstein's system. Now the most normal move in this position and most widely played is knight f6 here. We don't touch the bishop in f8. We're waiting a little bit more because in case white captures, we just take immediately. And normally people play bishop g2 in this position, and now we play bishop e7 with black. And after castle, white has two possibilities, one of which is capturing in c5, and knight a4 is one system widely played, and then there's another one with bishop g5. Both of them quite good for white. So after g3, surprisingly, Capablanca played bishop e6, which shows us a little bit that he might not have been as experienced in this Tarrasch defense, because, you know, the bishop in e6 is simply exposed here. It plays the role of a pawn. There's going to be some knight g5. You don't want to work on developing the queen side. I mean, you need to bring your king to safety first, especially because the e-file can anytime get opened with white playing at some point some e4, so you want to be very careful with that when you're playing this position with black. Bishop e7 castle, and now again another surprise for not only for me, I'm sure for many. Rook to c8, leaving this king in the center here and trying to pay attention on the queen side, but you know, there's nothing to really do here for the moment, because I mean, if you take in d4, I take back with the knight, and I simply have a good position with white. I actually want to take in c5 myself and create an isolated pawn in d5. So I don't understand the hurry in playing rook to c8. Just knight f6 would probably enter in just normal. Well, not quite normal, because this bishop in e6 is not the best placed, but some quite normal Tarrasch defense, let's say. But rook c8, and now pawn takes c5, bishop takes, of course, very normal, and knight g5. Akiba Rubinstein is just using the fact that the bishop in e6 is quite exposed. And you cannot move it because d5 is hanging. Knight f6 is kind of the only move in this position for black. And now, of course, we take it immediately without thinking. Now white has the bishop pair, and black has these two pawns that could potentially become weak. So Akiba immediately played bishop h3, putting pressure on the weak pawn that's been created in e6, creating this, basically pinning the pawn, and having potentially at some point some ideas with captures in d5 to that rook in c8 that's not protected. Now queen e7, pretty much the only move here, and Akiba probably didn't play the best move in this position. He played bishop g5. It's a normal development move. Either now or later, he had to play this e4, in my opinion, utilizing the fact that black's king is still in the center, and he wants to open up the e file because of that, and also e6 pawn is weak, and of course you can't just castle or something because I take in d5. So pretty much black's only moves are capturing in e4, which is actually quite alright. Now I want to play now bishop g5, and I've created two double pawns. This one is going to be lost immediately, and that one is going to remain weak for some time. There's some queen b3 ideas possibly. And d4 in this position would be quite bad for black, because now I can utilize my bishop in h3 and just play knight d5. Taking the queen, of course you cannot capture because your rook is hanging. You have to play queen to f7 and now just b4. The bishop has to go either b6 or d6 somewhere. For example, if you put it here, I just take it and I play b5. You've got these two weaknesses. My bishop can come to a3. Of course, your knight is just attacked. This is such a nice position for white. And if, for example, after b4, black would just go to d6, well, still b5. The same kind of ideas are happening in this position. And, for example, just moving the knight, we take in d4. But, okay, Akiba went for bishop g5. So after castle, again, I think e4 would have been a great choice for him. Just, again, utilizing the e6 weakness and creating two double pawns. They're opening up the center, but instead he captured in f6. And here Capablanca made a little inaccuracy, which, you know, he captured with the queen. Many people said this is a mistake in this position. Why not capture with the pawn? This just seems a little bit more natural. We're bringing another pawn to link to our island of pawns here. Towards the center, there's nothing to worry about on the king side, because now white's bishop has disappeared. The king can go and hide to h8. This just seems quite nice, I think, for black. And now, for example, if you're thinking knight takes d5, well, I can just take back, and if queen takes, I just go king h8. If you take in c8, rook takes, and I've got two pieces for rook and two pawns. I think I'm kind of right here with... okay, if you play e3 to try to make sure you're not going to lose that pawn, although it's not attacked yet, because the queen also attacks here. But I think I just have some knight e5s. You have to be careful. Maybe my knight can come create some threats there. I think this would have been a better choice for him. But instead he captured with the queen, which is still alright for the moment. Now, again, this beautiful idea. Knight takes d5, utilizing the pin. And here queen h6, definitely a big mistake from Capablanca. Instead, he had to just find this beautiful move, bishop takes f2, check, king g2, and now queen to e5. Attacking the knight, forcing basically the knight to go back, and now rook c to d8. Again, you know, keeping his pieces active. He has that weakness in e6, but he can also utilize the fact that for the moment black's bishop was out from protecting the king, and definitely there are going to be some checks in e4, of course, after this bishop moves. And I think this position is quite unclear. I don't know who is better in this position. Just seems really unclear, and lots of calculations are needed from both sides. Instead, Capablanca played queen h6, and here king g2, and after rook c to d8, of course you want to get out with your rook from that pin, rook c to d8, it looks like black is winning. I mean, what did white do? I'm threatening to take your knight. You cannot move the knight anywhere because you're losing the queen, so what to do? And here, Akiba Rubinstein found a beautiful move, a very similar idea as the one that I showed in the game from yesterday between him and the second world champion, Manuel Lasker. Queen c1 is the move. Such a nice move. Exiting with the queen from the pin, attacking the bishop, also keeping this queen attacked. So now, no matter what black does, he's just going to lose material. For example, if you take rook takes d5, there's just queen takes h6, pawn takes, bishop takes e6, and I'm winning an exchange. And how many pawns? 2 pawns. Then, for example, in this position, if queen takes c1, there's just bishop takes e6, intermediate move, and I'm also defending my knight. You have to go king h8, and now you're losing the queen. So this is definitely mind-blowing, incredible move, and there's nothing to do by black. Capablanca finally decided to capture the knight, but queen takes c5. Now we have a pawn up, we have a bishop versus knight. All we have to do is go towards an endgame and try to win it. And Akiba Rubinstein was great at that. Queen d2, queen b5. Maybe it was better to play bishop g4 to defend the pawn that way and then bring the bishop towards f3. But I like queen b5 as well. I think it's alright. Knight d4. Now a very nice retreat move. We don't always have to go forward. We can retreat sometimes, especially when it's okay to trade queens. And now what to do with black? You don't really have a good square for the queen, because my next move is going to be rook d1. For example, if you take, you would even lose the knight, because after rook b1 you have no square for the queen without losing the knight. So this definitely should not have been tried by Capablanca, and it hasn't been tried. He traded the queens, but now simply Rubinstein stops the entrance of the rook on the second rank, now trades the rook. Capablanca is trying to activate his rook. He was famous for activating moves and in endgames, trying to get some counterplay on the queen side. But after rook e5, he's just losing that pawn. And now, okay, the knight has to go. Check. Another check. King e8. Bishop f7. Check. Now bishop c4, protecting both of his weaknesses from this side of the board. a6, of course, b5 is not possible yet. Check. And now black is losing all of the pawns from the king side. And let's see how Rubinstein was able to finish up this game. a4, h4, rook h6 check, king c5. Here he has not played the best move. However, I think he had to just go for the queen. Just, you know, when you have a pawn up, you know, a free passed pawn, you just want to go to promote it. And that is what Capablanca probably was worried about, but Rubinstein didn't do it immediately. Instead, he gave rook h5 check, king b6. Now bishop d5, a mistake, possibly a little bit. Rook g5 again should have been, you know, the possibility for him to just go for the pawn to promotion. This bishop is controlling the diagonal. There's no way for black to create any passed pawn that's not going to be captured by white. After bishop d5, why was this not that great of a move? Well, because here Capablanca had some counterplay. He could have created some counterplay. If you haven't seen this game yet and you're not familiar with the idea, make sure you pause the video and try to find it. Rook takes a2 was the move that he could have tried. And now, of course, you can't take the rook because you risk... I don't know who's playing for win anymore. I play a3. I have a rook down, but my pawns are impossible to be stopped by white. Rook h8 won't stop it. There's no way for the rook to come stop it. I'm just going to promote. Maybe you can still manage to make a draw, but, you know, it's tough. So if rook h8, now b3 had to be tried. h5, now rook c2. Rook has to get out. And now maybe rook to c5. And... okay, it's some chance at least. Rubinstein had to find some really good moves, only moves to make sure he was going to win this position. Here after b2 there's just this, and after queen the rook just goes away and I promote. But okay, it's not that simple to see, you know. Instead, Capablanca played b3, and after capture a3, bishop takes c6, and here after rook h6 check, Capablanca resigned, because no matter where you go with the king, for example, if you go on the a file, I have rook to h8, rook to a8, or bishop c4, rook a6. I'm stopping the pawn. I'm not going to take your rook. and if you play king c5 or king b5, just bishop c4. Stay tuned for more!